Now what do I do? You know what, guys? I got new merch. It's available now, crowdme.com/JayzTwoCents. We got zip up hoodies, we got tri-blend, we got a new logo. I digress. Since 2012, it's a digress logo. You guys have been asking for that. Anyway, we got all kinds of stuff. Zip up hoodies, beanies, polos. Don't take my word for it, because obviously I can't do this ad. So just look in the description below and you guys will find the link. Thanks. All right, so I lied. I said you guys wouldn't see this build again until it was done, but I'm at a crossroads here, more than one. I think I'm pretty convinced I'm gonna put the Protium in there. After we put the Protium in the AMD build that we did for Phil's editing rig, I like this reservoir so much. It's the same one I used in the D-frame. I can't get all the air out of the radiators. The resonance is great, but I feel like the resonance would make more sense on a smaller build, maybe with a single radiator. And since I have two rads that are connected with a fitting right there, if you listen, you'll hear the sloshing in there. So I can't get all the air out. And it's one of those things where it's no fault of the resonance, really. It's just a volume thing. With tube reservoirs, I'm really comfortable with them. I've not done a lot of distro plate stuff, so I'll find a different use for this. Definitely, it's worth using. But I think I'm gonna switch that out with the Protium after all, which will end up going in there, and I think it'll just look way more traditional, like what I'm used to. I feel like all the flame polished acrylic will just look amazing in there. Unfortunately, this does not have RGB, and I say unfortunately only because the resonance does, so that was gonna have a glow effect to it too. But that, that's so minor now because this crap. Look, no matter what I do, no matter what I choose or what path I go down, even though this is my personal computer being used for my purposes, I'm gonna be called a shill, no matter which way I choose to go. And the bottom line is, all the major companies are mad at me. NVIDIA's pissed at me. They're like perpetually pissed at me because I've just been so vocally against the whole 15 SKUs in a single family of graphics card. They're mad. They're even calling up vendors and telling them they're mad at me. Fine. I feel like I've achieved something at that point. Consider it an achievement. Achievement unlocked. Get NVIDIA mad at you. 25G, right there. If Intel's not mad at me, they will be. Well, they're probably mad at me now after the last video, but AMD I don't think is mad at me, but they continue to tell me how much they love working with us, but then they don't include us in certain review samples, so I don't know what's going on over there. That's Edelman. It's a third party that handles all of their advertising stuff, so I don't know. I don't know if AMD makes those choices or Edelman, but I don't really care. We got to do the Threadripper stuff, and that is really exciting. I used to work 100% out of my home. All the videos you used to see were rendered on Skunkworks. I also gamed on Skunkworks. I live streamed on Skunkworks. Do you know what Skunkworks does now? It keeps my desk from floating away, and it watches YouTube. And it occasionally plays an hour or two of games a month. So realistically, I could get away with a frickin' E-machines for what I do at home now. But I'm still a PC enthusiast, and I'm always gonna be a high-performance desktop enthusiast, or HBDT. I could go to a 9900K and get all the frames. If it's not obvious that I'm just a high-end hardware enthusiast for my personal stuff, it's for the fact that I have two custom PCB 2080 Ti's in here in SLI, where 90% of the games today don't even utilize SLI anymore. It's just an enthusiast thing, and I've said it a million times. So I could go with the 9900K, but then with the fact that I have two of these guys in here, and I'm gonna have multiple NVMe SSDs, I would have a problem with PCIe lanes with this guy. So that's kinda out. But the 9980XE that's in here is exactly the same specs as the 10980XE, only the 10980XE has slightly higher all-core turbo clock and stuff like that, which means that it gets the slight edge in gaming. This 9980XE that's in here though has a little bit of sentimental value because when we used it, it was what we used to get our name and our name on the leaderboards for overclocking for the first time. I had never been in top 10s, let alone top 5s, or even for a minute there for CPU, the first spot on 3D Mark. So it's got a little bit of sentimental value there. It's already been lapped and polished and all that sort of stuff. Something I'm pretty sure I would have to do with this guy. I don't know, let me see. Yeah, obviously. So, it's not even flat. So, I have sentimental value there, but this would give me a slight edge in gaming. Neither of these CPUs are terrific for gaming. The 9900 is. We've already talked about that. But then I could just be I'm mad at Intel. I'm mad at Intel for that $2,000 CPU in there, now costing $1,000, showing that right there is a representation of ripoff. But again, people who buy it have to make that decision to buy it, and whether or not the price at the time is worth it to you. So you can be mad at Intel, but you still ultimately have to be mad at yourself if you spent the money on it and then you're mad about it later. It's called buyer's remorse. Sometimes things happen, new things come out. Like right now, I'm not done with the build and new hardware is available, like Ryzen 3rd gen. And then you have a decision to make. So the 3970X is in Phil's editing rig. This is the 3960X. This is significantly more cores than that guy, but this is also less maximum FPS and average FPS than that guy. So it's kind of like, I am just a freaking melting pot of things that I like when it comes to computers. And they're not like the best setup for anything. I mean, it's not the fastest rendering rig that I could build if I were to do rendering. It's not the fastest gaming PC that I could build if I cared about gaming. If I just cared like, well, Jay, you want the absolute top tier fastest, do I go with a 3175X and overclock it to 4.8 gigahertz on water, which I know I can do because it's cool, and it's got that big ass Dominus board that sucks up a 1200 watts from the wall that would literally increase my energy bill using more power than both my refrigerator and my AC combined? Or do I go with Threadripper to support the latest stuff that's out from AMD, kind of going back to my grassroots where I started my channel on an 8120 FX processor? Kind of bringing things back full circle, saying one day AMD might win me back. They've definitely won me back. They've won me back more so that I feel like using my Threadripper processor where it matters most, here at the office, where I actually do things using this computer. Like play World of Warships while Phil is actually editing.
And actually bothering me to show me your actual torpedo kills.
Yeah, but they're fun to watch and you know it. But it's one of those things where I feel like it makes more sense to use this hardware where it has potential to actually do something. Like here at the office. At least the computer gets turned on here daily. Skunkworks gets turned on like once or twice a week maybe. That's why I'm just like, what the hell do I do now? Or do I go with the 3950X and lose 2 cores versus that, but then just really celebrate its amazing mainstream performance capabilities with I have a cool motherboard for it. Hold on. Look at the motherboard I have for that 3950X if I want to go this level of build. This was actually provided to us by Micro Center, and it is a Crosshair formula. The exact same motherboard family I started my channel with. But look at it. It is everything that the Intel motherboards were for the longest time. This is a sexy, sexy ass board. It's even got the backplate on the back, something they never did for AMD boards. I mean, look, brands care about AMD again. I know that there's nothing I can say or do that's gonna keep me from being called a shill, no matter which way I go. All this positivity towards AMD, I'm sure has already got people wondering, like, did AMD sponsor and pay for these videos? Well, of course they sent the hardware for us to take a look at, except for the 3950X. That was actually sent by Micro Center. There's a link down below if you guys wanna check it out. Same thing with the Formula motherboard. Yeah, the reality here is I know I'm gonna be able to overclock this guy higher than this guy, which means out of the box, this will probably make up the difference here, obviously, because these are both gonna be overclockable. And they're both gonna be probably a good 10% higher FPS-wise than Threadripper. And because I'm gonna be doing realistically just gaming and probably some live streams on this, I feel like Threadripper's edged out because this makes more sense to be used here in our production environment. I think the 9900K is out, only because that just feels like a backwards move to me, being an HPDT enthusiast. All right, so here's what we're gonna do real quick. I think we'll just finish this video up by giving you some substance of getting this guy in there. Because I'm gonna have to redo that back wall thing now, like repaint it at least because I scratched it. I wanna put some more screws in it, and then I've gotta make the tubing line up. Somebody actually had a really good suggestion here, by the way, which I should have done. And if this is you that suggested it, I don't remember who it was, but I wanna give you credit for it. He said instead of doing the bend here, I should have put the fitting there and then rotated it so that was just a straight 90 without a little kink coming out of it, which would have been more aesthetically pleasing. And I think he's absolutely correct on that. So the nice thing about the Protium though, because it has these different ports on there, what I can do is, because the out is right here, this is the only out. So I can actually rotate these mounts to here, because there's screws right there, so that those face back, and then I can probably get it to line up into that fitting pretty well. And then I can have the return come up there. So let's just do that real quick.
You're like nervous around every it's like a
Oh God. Wow. Oh God, That's right, it's the same tube.
We'll be back.
Ah, dude, it just like you, okay, I have to plug that. Okay, like I said, the resonance is awesome. It's just, I think for the volume of water that's in this system, I had a ton of air that was still up in the radiators. I think I showed you guys that. That was way earlier. Oh no, I gotta clean that now. Okay, anyway, I'm trying to get that water drop out of there. Distracted Jay is Jay. So, the resonance is gonna be used in a different build, but the volume with these double rads up top, and just, I mean, you can see how thin it is, so it's only about a 1/4 inch, if that, worth of depth in there. And cycling through this was nearly impossible with the fact that it had to come like through there and down through there and then back out there and then back down again. So it was just all kinds of crazy with this loop. But I got really, really lucky. So using the Singularity Protium with the D5 and the extended tube they gave me, this could not have fit any more perfectly. I got so lucky. So you can see right here, I used their Reservoir Mounting Kit, which is separate from the one that actually comes with the Protium. Painted it to match the case, so I've got one there and one there. But the height, you can see it barely clears the fittings that are right there between the radiator. It barely clears the bottom, allowing me to have my cable that still comes off the bottom for this pump, which is now hidden. Remember how I said the Protium kind of came out to the side, or the resonance made it come out that way and it was gonna be ugly? That's no longer a problem. You can't even see it now because it's PWM controlled. I don't have to try and turn a knob on the bottom to adjust the speed, which means I have zero adjustment up or down. The fitting I made in the back and that little pass-through wall just happened to be at the exact same plane that the Protium ended on, allowing me to connect that completely with fittings and not using any tubes at all. So a 90 in extension, another 90 and a double male rotary so that I could screw it into either ends, lined up absolutely perfectly. I mean, that's just luck. That was not planned. So this ended up fitting in there amazingly. The only thing that kind of sucks about this is sort of a hard one to fill because the two ports right here that I use to fill are tapped into the same thread. So the water goes down and then some of it splashes up and it came out as you saw it spilled everywhere. Ideally, taking off the other plug would have been perfect, but as you can see, I can't get to it because of that fitting. Even loosening it to allow air to get out, because as water goes in, air has to go out, would have been perfect, but I put that on there so tight with a T-wrench, I can't get it off. So I don't want to take this all back out again. But the system is filled. It's completely bled, actually. I was shaking this thing around like a madman, just to try and get all the bubbles out. And you might see some bubbles come out right now. Shake it. Oh, there goes a few. There's a few. Those are just a couple micro bubbles that are still stuck in like the GPU blocks. The radiators though, earlier you heard them sloshing because I couldn't get all the air out. Listen. There's no more water sloshing. So this was definitely the right move. And because I didn't space it out at all and make it go closer to the GPUs, means that I've got plenty of room right here with straight through ability to have the wiring here be a huge part of the show. Same thing with the 24 pin. So by not blocking these off, and these are right in between the reservoir and the graphics cards, means now that this is gonna be a nice open area to have wiring be nice and neat. Now because the resonance is not blocking this little back plate that I made for the pass-through fitting, also means that I had to repaint that, which I did because I had scratched it. I also replaced the screws. Those are actually the same screws that you would find on the back of a graphics card, but they were the perfect threads for the washers and the nuts I was using on the backside. So it's spring loaded, which means it's even a better fit in there now. And then they are also like a black nickel, kind of a polished head, which just fits the build perfectly. So now I can say the next time you will see this build will be its completion. Phil earlier was like, damn it, Jay, just boot it up already. Power it on, make it do something. We decided the 9980XE makes more sense because we're gonna overclock it, which will make up any difference between the 10980. And it actually has some sentimental value to me. I wanna know now that it's spending the rest of its life just doing gaming. Anyway, I think something else I wanna do in here too, I was telling Phil, is get a mirror cut that's like the dimensions of the bottom here, so that I could have a mirror reflecting the RGB light from this block back so you can see the bottom of this block, because you can see this one in the reflection of that back plate. So I think having a mirror down here would be kind of cool. All right guys, thanks for watching. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Oh, and for your next build, what CPU are you going with and why? Let why be the important reason why you answer. I'm really curious as to why you chose which brand you're going with. Choice is awesome, but also confusing.